Gangsters, what's up? It's Scott here. I'm back with my 20-year film festival. If you're only just recently tuning in, basically I'm recommending 14 movies from each of the last 20 years. 14 equal to about a 2-week film festival at your home. If you watch one movie a night, it consists basically of my top 5 movies of each year, plus another 9 that I think are quite good, of assorted genres and what have you. So let's start with 3:10 to Yuma. It was a remake of a Western which came out exactly 50 years earlier. It was directed by James Mangold, whom I like very much. He's done a wide variety of different films. I think I've already recommended a couple of his films in this series. This was, on my top 10 of the year. Russell Crowe is a notorious gunslinger who's been captured, and Christian Bale is a farmer who is helping lawmen to bring him to a train station in the town of Yuma so that he can be taken back to prison. But his gang is hot on their trail and is trying to do whatever they can to free him. Really like this movie a lot. It's a good action thriller, really. And it's just a very, very strong picture. Really like it a lot. Next, Alpha Dog. Alpha Dog is directed by Nick Cassavetes, who is far more well known for directing The Notebook, which is a movie I've never actually seen all the way through. Much as I like Ryan Gosling, I don't know, a little sappy for me, you know, not necessarily my thing. I do like some romance movies and relationship movies, but that one, I don't know, for some reason I could just never sit through it. Anyway, Alpha Dog is based on a true story, and it's a quite excellent movie. It's basically about some low-level drug dealer types in Los Angeles who are owed money by one of their clients, so they basically kidnap his younger brother, Anton Yelchin. Some of the nefarious types in this movie include Ben Foster and Ben Foster's actually in 3:10 to Yuma. I forgot to mention that. At least I think he's in the movie. Emile Hirsch and Justin Timberlake are the two, like, the main perpetrators. But there's this whole network of people that's, of kids, basically, that are aware of what's going on. And the kid just basically hangs out and parties with them for a few days. But they realize that if they let the kid go home and the kid talks about what happened, they're going to be a huge amount of trouble, and they're probably going to go to prison. So that's a real problem there. A lot of really great people in the cast here. If you've ever seen In Time with Olivia Wilde, Justin Timberlake, and Amanda Seyfried, they're all in Alpha Dog too, so that movie was sort of an Alpha Dog reunion for them. Really, really good drama. Also, Vincent Kartheiser, a bunch of people are in it. One of my favorite Wes Anderson movies, if not my most favorite, is The Darjeeling Limited, which came out that year. This was basically about 3 brothers who take a trip by train into India to find their mother, who has just sort of abandoned them and is off working in a commune or something like that. She's played by Angelica Houston, who of course was in the Royal Tenenbaums. The brothers are played by Jason Schwartzman, Adrian Brody, and oh no, who's the third guy? Who's the third guy? Oh, Owen Wilson, of course. Yeah, he's got bandages all over his face. Yeah, I couldn't remember for a minute there which one it was. Anyway, like I said, I've liked some Wes Anderson movies and others not so much. This is probably my favorite Wes Anderson movie. It's just the strongest, most solid film that he's made. It's funny, you know, and it's of course very stylish in that very Wes Anderson way. He's very much a genre unto himself, it seems, especially with you just look at a movie, look at like 2 shots from a movie, you'll know that it's one of his. Really enjoy the movie quite a bit. Then there's a horror movie which got overlooked, I think, by a lot of people because it wasn't really big on the gore and the spectacular kills. It's more conceptually inventive than anything else. It's called Behind the Mask, The Rise of Leslie Vernon. I could not believe this movie when I first saw it. I just sort of sat there with my mouth going, what is going on here? Leslie Vernon basically is an aspiring mass murderer. He wants to be notorious in the mold of Jason Voorhees and Michael Myers, who in the context of this movie are real, newsworthy mass killers, not fictional creations. And so his process of becoming notorious and infamous as being documented by some graduate students who are videotaping his preparations to slaughter a whole bunch of teenagers at an isolated cabin. And I'm sitting there going, what are these people doing? Why aren't they calling the cops on this guy? What is going on here? There's some really, really inventive stuff happening in the movie. Scott Wilson, who's a veteran character actor, he's been in a lot of stuff, like G.I. Jane, and he played Amy Adams' father in Junebug. He is basically a veteran, a guy who had his heyday in the 70s and sort of is a mentor towards Leslie Vernon. The mains in this movie are actors who I haven't seen a lot of other stuff. Nathan Bazels, I think, is the name of the guy who played Leslie Vernon, and Angela Gertis, who has had small roles on Grey's Anatomy and 24. She plays the lead, basically, the girl who's gotten her other students to make the documentary with her, sort of headlining the project. It was directed by Scott Glosserman, who actually made a documentary, and this is not, strictly speaking, a found footage movie, but their raw footage that they take basically comprises most of the movie. It's a very smart way to keep the budget down, but it's not entirely like that. It's a proper, horror movie, just with a ton of, like 60%, found footage, more or less. So it's a little different and just wild, just kind of a crazy idea. Really liked it a lot. Next, I'd like to talk a movie called The Interview. Speaking of interviews, this was directed by and starring Steve Buscemi. He is a journalist, a political journalist, who's been given this assignment that he doesn't want to interview an actress who's played by Sienna Miller. They meet in a restaurant for a drink. He is kind of unprepared, doesn't really care about her, doesn't care about her work, the kinds of schlocky movies that she stars in. So she gets angry with him just not caring, and she leaves. And as he leaves, he gets hit by a car, and she happens to be right there. So she says, come on back to my loft, which is a block away. I'll look at your, cut and everything like that, and just let you rest up a little bit before you go on your way. Well, once they're back there, then they actually start to have a real conversation, start to open up. But it's still sort of a game between them. He's challenging her to reveal more about herself, because he doesn't feel like she's got a brain in her head because she stars in crappy movies, and she, of course, wants to prove him wrong. So it becomes sort of a mind game between them. Really good movie. Really like it a lot. I saw it again like a couple years ago. Steve Buscemi's directed a couple of movies. Trees Lounge and Animal Factory come to mind. Animal Factory takes place in prison. Willem Dafoe's the main character. That's a good movie, too. Next, I'd like to talk about Grindhouse. Grindhouse, of course, was released all as one big event in the theaters. Of course, mostly you can get the two movies that comprise it separately. One, of course, was directed by Robert Rodriguez, Planet Terror. The other was directed by Quentin Tarantino, Death Proof. If you're watching the extended versions on discs individually, Death Proof, I feel, is improved by its extra footage, but Planet Terror is not necessarily improved. The extra scenes seem kind of superfluous. So the ideal version for me would be the Blu-ray, which has basically the entire thing on it from beginning to end. Not to mention the phony trailers and promos in between. I think Robert Rodriguez's movie still has the Machete trailer on it, but the Edgar Wright trailer and the one for Thanksgiving that Eli Roth did, and the other one, they're not on the on either of the two discs. They're only on the main one. But Grindhouse is a lot of fun, a really, really terrific experience, and just funny, just crazy. A double feature thing worked really well for it, I thought, but it didn't do so well when it was in the theater, so they didn't end up releasing it as one big package generally, only on the Blu-ray. So that's a little disappointing. But if you have access to that Blu-ray, that's the way I would recommend seeing the movie, because it's fun. And finally, I'd like to talk about Lars and the Real Girl. Ryan Gosling is a guy living in a small town. He's sort of introverted and socially withdrawn, which I think mean the same thing. He orders a life-size sex doll, but then pretends it's his girlfriend. He's operating under some kind of delusion that she's a real person. The townspeople, the people that know him, family members and friends and what have you, they don't understand this, but they kind of go along with it anyway, and they treat her like an actual person. And she actually kind of takes on a life of her own, with everyone sort of arranging things for her to do, even when Ryan Gosling's character, Lars, isn't actually around. And he starts to get jealous that she's off doing things without him, which is crazy, which is kind of nuts. But it's a funny movie. It's really it's a really funny movie, and the whole process of him eventually sort of coming out of his shell and being more socially involved with his community is sort of like, she's sort of like the conduit to that. The imaginary girlfriend. Fun movie, really fun movie. So that's 7. I'll make another video with another 7 a little bit later. So I hope you enjoyed this. And the link to my Facebook's below in the description, and leave a comment if you like. Thank you very much for watching. See you later.